Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will enter the world crafted in Anne of the Island by L.M. Montgomery. Anne of the Island, written by Lucy Maud Montgomery, is the third book in the beloved Anne of Green Gables series. Published in 1915, this novel continues the story of Anne Shirley as she leaves her home in Avonlea to attend Redmond College. Set against the backdrop of early 20th century Canada, the novel explores themes of growth, friendship, love, and the passage of time. Plot summary: Anne Shirley stood at a threshold, both literally and metaphorically, as she prepared to leave her beloved Green Gables for Redmond College. This departure marked the beginning of a new chapter, filled with excitement and a touch of melancholy. Farewells were bittersweet as she hugged Marilla, her stoic but loving guardian, and her dear friend Diana, who had been a constant presence in her life since childhood. Even the ever-critical Rachel Lynde managed a tearful goodbye. With a suitcase in hand and dreams in her heart, Anne boarded the train, leaving behind the only home she had ever known. Redmond College was a world of contrasts to Anne, both thrilling and intimidating. The sprawling campus with its ancient ivy-covered buildings, wide avenues, and new faces was unlike anything she had experienced in the tranquil world of Avonlea. Anne found herself a part of a new community, sharing a boarding house with Priscilla Grant, her kindred spirit from Queens, and Philippa Gordon, an exuberant and indecisive young woman from a wealthy family. Stella Maynard joined them, creating a lively and harmonious circle of friends. They quickly fell into a rhythm of classes, social gatherings, and late-night discussions about life, love, and the future. Despite the thrill of academic life and new friendships, Anne couldn't help but feel the pangs of homesickness. She often found herself reminiscing about the simpler times at Green Gables, the familiar faces, and the comforting routines of Avonlea. Letters from home became treasures, bringing tidbits of news and love from Marilla, Rachel, and Diana. Yet, amidst this longing, Anne's bond with her Redmond friends deepened. They shared the highs and lows of college life, supporting each other through exams, social mishaps, and the inevitable encounters with love and heartbreak. Gilbert Blythe, Anne's childhood rival turned friend, was also at Redmond. His presence was a constant, steadying force in Anne's new life. They walked the paths of the college together, discussing their classes and dreams. Gilbert's feelings for Anne were no secret to anyone except Anne herself, who remained blissfully unaware of the depth of her own emotions. She saw Gilbert as a dear friend and a kindred spirit, but nothing more, or so she told herself. As time passed, Anne attracted her share of admirers. Charlie Sloane, a familiar face from Avonlea, was one of the first to propose. His earnestness amused and touched Anne, but she knew he was not the one for her. Another suitor, Royal Gardner, seemed the epitome of sophistication and charm. With his aristocratic demeanor and polished manners, he was the kind of man many girls dreamed of. Anne allowed herself to be courted by him, but deep down, something didn't feel right. She appreciated Royal's attention, but realized that the heart needs more than admiration and charm to truly be captured. Eventually, Anne declined Royal's proposal, understanding that a life without genuine love and passion would be a hollow one. Summers at Green Gables provided Anne with much-needed respite from the rigors of college life. Each return felt like a homecoming to her soul, where the fields and forests of Avonlea welcomed her back with open arms. On these visits, she would spend hours with Diana, talking about their dreams and fears. However, each summer also brought the realization that they were no longer children. Diana was now engaged to Fred Wright, moving toward a life of domesticity, while Anne's path seemed less certain and more filled with the possibilities of the unknown. The turning point in Anne's journey came in her final year at Redmond. She received a letter from home, not with the usual cheerful news, but with the grim announcement that Gilbert Blythe was gravely ill with typhoid fever. The thought of losing Gilbert shook Anne to her core. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing to her the true depth of her feelings for him. How could she have been so blind? The thought of a world without Gilbert was unbearable. In a whirlwind of emotions, she rushed back to Avonlea, fearing the worst. Upon her arrival, she found Gilbert had begun to recover, but the ordeal left Anne emotionally drained. Seeing him pale and weak, but still with that familiar spark in his eyes, Anne knew that her life would be incomplete without him. Their friendship had always been special, but now she realized it was the foundation of something much deeper. With each day that Gilbert's strength returned, so did Anne's hope for their future. Returning to Redmond after Gilbert's recovery, Anne carried with her a newfound clarity. Gone was the uncertainty that had plagued her heart. She knew now that Gilbert was more than just a friend. He was her confidant, her equal, and the one who made her world complete. When Gilbert finally asked her to be more than a friend, to share a life together, Anne's heart leaped with joy. She said yes, not just with words, but with every beat of her heart. As the final year at Redmond drew to a close, Anne and her friends prepared to face the world beyond the ivy-covered walls. Philippa, always full of surprises, announced her engagement, having finally made up her mind in her own delightfully unpredictable way. Priscilla and Stella pursued their own paths, each reflecting their personalities and aspirations. Anne felt a mixture of nostalgia and excitement. She was leaving Redmond, a place that had been a crucible for her growth, but she was ready for what lay ahead. Anne returned to Green Gables, the place where her journey had begun. Walking through the familiar landscape, she felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. Life had changed her, shaped her in ways she could not have imagined, but it had also brought her full circle, back to the home that would always be a part of her. With Gilbert by her side, she looked forward to a future filled with love, challenges, and the promise of shared dreams. Standing on the threshold of Green Gables, with the sun setting behind the hills, Anne took one last look at the place that had given her so much. The world was wide, and her heart was open, ready to embrace all the adventures that life had in store for her. With Gilbert's hand in hers, she stepped forward into the future, knowing that wherever life took them, they would always have each other. That's all for now, but if you're loving Anne of Green Gables series, there's more waiting for you. Find the other books by L.M. Montgomery in the description or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in L.M. Montgomery's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.